approaching the summer solstice, and as I have been for the whole year, I'm focusing my energy, at least as much as possible, on reconnecting with the natural world, myself, and getting to see incredible new places. I haven't entirely stopped with the witchiness at the Sabbaths though. I am still going to be setting up my altar and doing a divination reading. It's just that I felt a real deep need to reconnect. I'm not sure if anybody else is feeling the same way, but the past few years I've just not felt entirely grounded in myself or the place where I live, and so I feel like I really needed to start doing that more. I'm very lucky to live in England, and while I'm biased, I will say that I think that our countryside has got to be some of the best in the world. And especially around May and June, it's the way the light goes through the fresh green leaves. There's just something about it that's just absolutely incredible. And I found myself really paying attention to nature in a way that I never really did before. I've always loved the natural world. I've always loved animals and history and plants, but there's something about actually being present, truly paying attention that makes a massive difference. I started filming this vlog in May. I wanted to collect bits and pieces, snapshots of my life, usually the highlight reel, to be able to share it with people who don't get to experience this kind of countryside in their day-to-day lives. And one thing I've noticed is in the small changes in the plants and animals, the things that you could so easily miss. Between May and June, the lambs have grown so much bigger in the fields. They started out really tiny and sweet and adorable, and they're growing into chunky little creatures, and I just want to give them head scratches. They are just so sweet and adorable. And just being able to sit on this ha-ha and watching them is just such a magical experience without ever having to cast a spell or perform a ritual. If you don't know what a ha-ha is, it's a wall that has been built so that it separates farmland from like pleasure grounds and walking areas. They're commonly found around stately homes as a way of stopping livestock from entering into the private gardens. Really cool, it gives the appearance that there are no fences in the landscape, just one seamless bit of green. Absolutely beautiful and surprisingly comfortable to sit on. But beyond just the lambs, it's in the plants as well. It's in the way that everything is blossoming and shifting and changing, and the types of plants that we're seeing too. At the start of May, the horse chestnut was still blossoming. Now, I'm really allergic to tree pollen. As much as I love trees, I know it's ironic, isn't it, that someone who loves trees as much as I do is allergic to tree pollen. But when you get up close to these beautiful flowers on the horse chestnut, flowers that you would normally never get to see, they're actually pink and white, and they are so beautiful. And then at the start, when I was filming this, the wild garlic was in full bloom, and it smells incredible. It is actually edible, by the way. There's lots of recipes online for using wild garlic. You just have to make sure that you're harvesting it carefully and respectfully. But as we started transitioning into June, the wild garlic starts dying back, and instead it's time for the elder. Elder flowers are some of the most beautiful and fragrant flowers around. The elder tree is phenomenal to work with. She deserves a lot of respect, and she should always be given it. But the flowers are used in some of my favourite drinks, elderflower flavoured anything, and I'm sold. Elderflower cordial, elderflower pop, elderflower hell ice cream. I will eat it and drink it because I absolutely love this stuff, and it smells incredible, and at the moment it's practically everywhere. Elder trees all up and down the country are in full bloom, and it really is a signifier that we're getting close to the summer solstice. It's that one plant where I look at it and go, oh, we are really starting summer now. Now, I mentioned my love of historic places, and every time I visit somewhere, I have to try to find a National Trust property, some kind of old house or an old ruin or something to look around. I'm an absolute sucker for it. I'm very much one of those people that's an, oh, I wonder where this path goes kind of a person, and everyone around me has just come to accept it. I will inevitably wander off down a path that is completely different to all of the others, and you know I'll be back in like 2 minutes. I just had to see where it went. With any kind of historical place though, I'm a sucker for anything Tudor or older. I still appreciate modern history, but there is something about the Tudor and earlier periods that suck me in every single time. There's something about the way the places were built, the attention to detail, the coziness of the dark wood and the darker environments and the candle light. I don't know, there's just something about it that just feels like home to me. And so I will typically gravitate to Tudor properties, but I'm happy to go anywhere and to see anything. I think it's all just so exciting. And in my attempt to reconnect more with myself, I've decided to take up drawing again. I tried more complex things like watercolors and acrylics, but in the end, I'm a simple girly, and I am quite happy with a pencil and some paper. And so every time I go somewhere, I try to capture just a snippet, just a single moment of time where I'm in that place on paper. And I found it to be just so therapeutic. Now, I did say I hadn't forgotten about making my altars, and I definitely haven't. While complex spells and rituals during the Sabbats aren't something I'm doing this year, the altar spaces are still very much in progress. And the one that I've created this month, I think has really helped to improve the energy of my space. Now, altars, for Sabbats or otherwise, aren't a necessity for magical practice, but I do find them to be incredibly useful for myself. I've been using one for years as a way of tracking the seasons, tracking the shifting of energy as the world cycles again and again and again. And for me, having that ritual every single Sabbath of cleansing the altar, cleaning it off, and then refreshing it really helps to reset my mind, reset my energy, and reset the space as well. Now, I've done a full walkthrough for this altar on my Patreon, but this is what it turned out like this month, and I'm so happy with it. The art print has got to be one of my favourites. I'll leave the artist linked in the description box because they are absolutely incredible. With that being said though, I do try to spend as much time as I can, especially at this time of year, outside. We're about to reach that point in the year that is the tipping point between the light half of the year and the dark half of the year. This is the time when the Oak King and the Holly King are battling it out once more, but this time it's the Holly King that wins. From the summer solstice onwards, it's going to start getting darker and darker and darker, and so I try to take as many opportunities as I can to get out into nature and to enjoy some sunshine. That, and I'm basically a lizard in human form. If I am not warm, if I do not have sunshine, I do not function. And so for me, getting outside is really, really important. There's a running joke that English folk constantly talk about the weather. And I can't even deny it, because it's true. We do very commonly speak about the weather, but that's because it can go from this, beautiful, sunny, glorious, need sun cream, or I will literally burst into flames. And then 5 seconds later, it starts raining. Typical. This is June. June in England. I mean, I could really expect nothing less. And then it'll go back to this. Beautiful, sunny, gorgeous. And then it'll be this again. Welcome to England, folks. Where it rains all of the time. Actually, you know what? For the last 2 weeks, it's been really, really sunny. And then, happy summer, everyone. And guess who forgot to bring an umbrella? Me. It's okay. This bit of my hair might run because it's dyed, but we're just going to pretend to not notice any blue streaks if you see it. It's a beautiful cottage garden though. Look at this. The rain it's not easing up. I'm wet, phone is wet. I'm going to go have a drink now. Maybe a hot chocolate. That would be nice. This is what June is like in England. It's one of those months where you can never guarantee the kind of weather that you're going to get. And I think that's something a lot of places don't really get about England. If you live in a location that is hot all of the time and it never really changes, June in England is a whole different beast. We can go through 4 seasons in one day. There was even a year where it snowed in June. You can go from t-shirts and shorts to jumpers and jeans in about 3 minutes, and you just have to kind of deal with that, and that's part of the fun of it. I then got to see the one, the only, Dave. also known as Damn the Bard to anyone who listens to his live streams on YouTube or listens to him on Spotify. I have not seen Damn the Bard in over a year, maybe a year and a half. And he's absolutely phenomenal. Every single live performance is absolutely incredible. Obviously, I cannot put any of the music in this video, but I will leave the links to all of his stuff down below because genuinely, if you love pagan music, you will probably have heard of Dave's music before. Green and Grey has got to be one of my favorite songs. Actually, just his entire discography is really good. And if you want to learn more about the Mabinogion and E-Mabinogi, then Damn the Bard has actually done an entire version of the Mabinogi that you can go and listen to. He gets supported for it and he's done an incredible job, so I would thoroughly recommend the listen. And then to wrap it all up, I did end up doing some tarot. Now I will admit that at the start of 2024, I found myself relying very heavily on tarot in a way that I never have before. I was finding that I was using the tarot regularly, more regularly than I would normally do as a way of making decisions. And so I've really cut back on the amount of time I spend reading tarot. Not because I don't find it beneficial, not because I don't enjoy it, but just that I no longer want to be using tarot as a crutch. And it's such an easy thing to fall into too. Like, I'm sure many people listening to this will have experienced it at some point in their magical practice, using spells, rituals, tarot, or any other form of divination as a coping strategy, as a way of dealing with things and processing things. And there's nothing wrong with doing that until you get to a point where you feel you can't cope without it. And so I really cut back on the amount of time I would spend reading tarot, but I will still always read it for the Sabbaths. I find it to just be a really useful snapshot into the month and a half ahead. And so I do these on Patreon as well. If you want to check them out, I'll leave the link in the description box. But I find that if you want to practice your tarot and you aren't really sure when's best to carry it out, or you're like me and you went through a period in your life where you were relying quite heavily on tarot, then I find that doing it at the Sabbaths is a great way of still incorporating it into your magical practice, but you have time scales for when you're going to be doing it. You know that it's going to be from that tarot reading, that Sabbath to the next. So it's a reasonable amount of time. It's not too long that it starts getting muddy, but it's not too close that you're having to do it really frequently. And it allows you to focus on the energy of a period of time. So if you really want to set up a Sabbath altar, I would recommend being in that space when you do that tarot reading, connecting with the natural energy, connecting with the energy of the Sabbath, and it allows you to add layers into your magical practice. This also applies to around different Sabbaths. If, say, for instance, it's Imbolg. Now, I know it isn't, it's Litha, but still, you can always call upon Bridget if that's a deity that you really want to connect with and work with. I think it's a great way of adding layers into your tarot practice. Wow, there's a lot of really, really strong big archetype energy. Woo! Now, which way out are you meant to be? Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, so I'm being told to read these cards as they are and then ask for clarifying cards afterwards. So for anyone who doesn't know my reading style, I do have a guide that comes through for readings and will tell me which cards are more significant, whether I should keep shuffling, whether I should stop, like what's going on with the cards. And I will just get things coming through where he's like, stop here, or keep going, or one more card, or whatever. In this reading, he's very specifically saying, read these 4, and then do more if you need more afterwards. And I'm just going to emphasize that I mentioned the number 4 earlier, and I do feel like that is going to be really, really significant. There is something about the number 4. I always shuffle my cards using birth numbers. If I'm reading for another person, I will always use their birth number. So this is like adding up their full date of birth and then getting it down to a 1, sometimes a 2-digit number. If I'm reading for myself, I always do things 3 times, but for whatever reason today, I felt the need to shuffle 4 times. So I would do a set of 4 shuffles, I would split the deck, set of 4 shuffles, split the deck, and I would do that 4 times. And then to then get the number 4 in the number of cards, I think there's something going on here. Now, these aren't major arcana, but we have 4 of the heads of houses. So all of the suits will have an ace through 10. They will then have what is essentially a king, queen, a knight, and a page. These are the 4 heads of cards, and they will apply for each individual suit. And here, not only do we have no reversals, we have 4 of the heads of houses in one place at the same time. This is going to be some really, really potent, unavoidable energy. And the overarching idea that I'm getting at the minute is that this is going to be less about what the individual cards mean and more about the collective energy. Okay. And for anyone who's interested, we are now going to do our kind of pack down stage where I put all the cards back. Because this is just as important, you know, once you might have loads of rituals when you come into a tarot reading, but you also need to be doing things after the fact too. So I lay all the cards together like this. Oh, that is the wrong way around. And then I do the same shuffling, but backwards. And this is one of the things that makes tarot reading quite time consuming, and spell work and ritual actually. It might be like a really high energy situation to like set up that circle and like know that you are about to do a spell or a ritual, and it can be like really exciting and invigorating, and so you're quite willing to do it. But at the end of it, it's about being able to take that time once the energy has died down, once you've done that working, and now you would rather be doing like literally anything else. Like you want to be going outside into the sunshine, or you want to be getting food, or you need to be having a drink, or you want to be spending time with your coven members. You still need to close down that working, whether that is like a tarot reading, whether that is a like a ritual circle. You still need to be taking the time to put it down again. And a lot of people don't, I've realised. So I always thank the cards and I put them back in their little bag. And then they can be tucked away for another month. Now, with all of this, I wish I could go back to Stonehenge again, because it is, after all, not just Litha, but the summer solstice. So if you're going to Stonehenge, I'm so envious. I would love to go one day. I hope you have a phenomenal time. And if you've never been to Stonehenge, I'm going to include some clips of Stonehenge. Now, this isn't at summer solstice. The energy of the place is really interesting. It is super touristy, but there is something about the place, if you can catch it when it's quite quiet, so like off-season, midweek, when the weather's not great, there is just something there. It's just a presence of this weighted energy in the environment. It's just incredible. And I say this every single year because I do think it's worth checking out. If you aren't able to join coven celebrations, or if you aren't able to have your own large celebrations yourself, you can watch the Stonehenge live stream on YouTube for free. You get to join in on the celebrations by watching the sunrise at Stonehenge, and it is absolutely phenomenal. I'd always recommend anybody check it out. You might be halfway around the world, and you're still going to find some joy in learning a little bit about Stonehenge and then watching the sunrise. Now, take everything I've said about England and June into consideration here. Quite often, it's not actually a clear sky and it's quite cloudy, so you often can't see the sunrise, but it's still absolutely beautiful. So this vlog was kind of a little all over the place, but I hope that you did enjoy kind of a snapshot into the highlight reel of the natural world. I got to see squirrels and I got to see little tiny ducklings, and it's really just a beautiful way to celebrate the summer solstice, is just to be present. And if you can do absolutely nothing else this summer solstice and this Litha other than spend 2 minutes watering the plants in your garden, or buying a basil plant to put in your kitchen, or just spending a fraction of time on your daily commute, just taking in the natural world, I think that's a fantastic way of celebrating the Sabbath. And I would love to know what you're going to be doing to celebrate this year. I think that would be really, really cool. I love getting to hear everybody else's experiences. Are you doing tarot readings? Are you going to Stonehenge? I would really love to know. So with that being said, I hope you are staying safe. I hope you're having a marvelous, magical day. If you enjoy these videos, feel free to like them and subscribe, and I will see you in another video. Okay,